Welcome back on your Friday morning. Canadian flight attendants are fed up, and now the frustration is boiling over north of the border, and that could put a huge wrench in your plans for one last summer getaway. Air Canada is grounding hundreds of flights ahead of a possible flight attendant strike this weekend. It could cause major issues up north, also here in the States, with the airline offering more than 430 daily flights to and from the U.S. NewsNation's Alicia Nieves is live at Newark Liberty International Airport, tracking this one. I mean, Alicia, this is Canada's flagship airline. What would shutting it down mean for U.S. travel?
Yeah, good morning, Markie. As if traveling via, the airlines or the airport wasn't already stressful for so many passengers, this could mean even more stress and potential chaos, as we're in the summer's kind of busiest and peak season. Now, Air Canada is saying it's trying to accommodate every person that it's having to cancel a flight for, trying to put them on other airliners. But as I noted a moment ago, this is peak summer travel. People trying to get in those last-minute plans before the summer ends here. So far this morning, we've already seen at least 30 flights canceled here in the U.S., but hundreds expected to be canceled by the end of today if we do not get some sort of last-minute deal. The ripple effect of all of these flights and cancellations really going to be significant, especially when you consider the size of Air Canada's footprint in the industry. As you mentioned, hundreds of connections here in the U.S., and then the broader international travel. Air Canada flies to 65 countries, which will be impacted now. You're talking about, the impact to more than 100,000 passengers every day. The strike going into effect, notably at a time in Canada where, as most are coming, a lot of Canadians are avoiding U.S. travel this year because of diplomatic tensions and taking vacations. So you're actually seeing it affect most Canadians. The airliner began, as I noted, canceling flights yesterday, actually, into today, going to complete cessation of flying if, again, a deal is not reached last minute here. The negotiations, though, so far have been pretty contentious. Emotions running relatively high on both sides. Just yesterday, as a matter of fact, a group of protesters interrupted Air Canada's press conference with placards, walking in front of the cameras and both sides making some public statements.
The table. We are engaged throughout the entire process. We have made offers and responded to every offer CUPE has made, including the last one. We are still available to bargain at any time on the condition that the negotiation has substance.
Everything from pre-flight safety checks to boarding, to planing, to attending to medical and safety emergencies are done at no charge to the airline. In Canada, in 2025, that is simply not fair. Meanwhile, the cost of living crisis continues to crush our members' ability to pay rent and buy basic groceries.
Yeah, in that press conference, Air Canada actually warned that if the lockout begins, it might actually take some time to restart, even if immediately they can work out a deal, with the union. It'll take potentially up to a week to get the airline back fully running. So this is potentially not chaos just for this weekend, but for the week at least. Markie?
Yeah, I know Air Canada's chief operations officer said the cancellations will proceed and grow in magnitude. By the time we get to 1 a.m. on Saturday, we'll be completely grounded.
Yeah.
Gosh. And Alicia, to your point, clearly emotions are running high. What's been the sticking point in negotiations for these flight attendants?
Kind of what we see in most strikes, right? They want better pay and they certainly want better working conditions, particularly around what's dubbed kind of an industry standard. Most people don't realize that if you're a flight attendant, you typically only get paid for the time you're in the air. You don't get paid until that boarding door is locked. And so the union is really working to try and get that sticking point, fixed right now, saying that these flight attendants really should be paid for all time that they're working. This is something that here in the U.S., airliners like Delta, American, and Alaska have actually had to change and increase compensation to include those hours on the ground. And then when it comes to wages, they're saying, when it comes to inflation, these flight attendants are making, some are arguing, minimum wage. The union said in a statement that Air Canada was offering an increase to its members about 17.2% over 4 years. But with inflation, it doesn't make up for the losses. Air Canada, though, saying in a news conference that it was offering 38% increase in total compensation, which includes wages, benefits, and pension. Air Canada also saying that it was willing to offer ground compensation, but didn't elaborate on that. So it seems like, both both sides still have some, tension here, and this could eventually get to arbitration. But in the meantime, you've got passengers stuck in the middle and potential travel chaos for them, Markie.
Yeah, more than 10,000 flight attendants expected to strike this weekend. We'll see if they can strike a deal soon. Alicia, Nieves, thank you so much for getting us up to speed there.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.